So good evening. We're going to get started in about 4 minutes. It's great to see you this evening. Good evening. We'll get started in just about 2 to 3 minutes more. It's great to see everyone this evening. Good evening, Fatima. It's good to see you this evening. You're welcome. Hi, Ian. Good to see you. So we're going to get started in about 2 minutes. It's good to see everyone this evening. We'll get started in just a few more minutes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Dr. Singletary, how's your volume tonight? It's good? Today's a good topic. I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Singletary.
Yeah, everything's good today. I got a different setup, so.
Excellent. That's good. Well, it's great to hear your voice this evening, sir.
Thank you, same here.
All right, so we're at 6 o'clock, and so we'll probably wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started just to allow some folks to get in. I know how difficult it can be at this time of the evening, getting home, picking up the kids or whatever you have to do. So it is much appreciated, guys, that you're in the workshop this evening and taking the time to do that. So we'll give it 5 minutes. We'll get started at 6:05. We have a good one for you this evening. We're going to talk about communicating in college. We're going to talk about communicating, especially with your instructors. Hello, Renee. How are you? Good to see you. We have our faithful followers. Good, I'm glad you're doing well. We have the same, hello, we have the same setup as we did each evening that we have these workshops that I Oh, good. I'm glad that you're excited about this workshop this evening, even though I don't remember what it was about.
I don't, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Yusuf is coming in, and we're going to wait 2 more minutes and we'll get started promptly at 6:05. Hi, Yusuf.
I was gonna say I'm doing an assignment as well, so if any reason you guys gotta mute me, no problem.
All right, no problem.
Teacher would not give me an extension on assignment, so I'm like trapped.
Hey, well, hopefully you'll be able to stay with us for the hour, but understood if you've got to do your assignment, you know?
I don't want to miss this one though, because communicating with instructors, it's a critical part of my success on campus.
I would agree. I would agree. And sometimes we're not sure. You know, I can tell you my own experience when I'm taking classes. Sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating. Doesn't matter who you are. When it's the instructor, sometimes it can be difficult. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Yusuf.
I got my first F to not understand properly.
Okay, well, and hopefully you're able to bring that back up, yes?
I'm pretty sure now that I understand it a lot better, I'll get that F to an A.
Good, good, good.
Thank you, Samira, because exactly I am having difficulty speaking with instructors at times. It has not been easy for me.
It's a process and it'll get better, but we're going to take a look at it. And it can be difficult because it's an intimidating thing. And sometimes it's just in the way that you communicate, but sometimes it has to do with your understanding of the assignment. We're going to talk about that. So we're going to get started. So it's now 6:05. Hopefully you like the music. It made you a little bit relaxed and ready to have some fun. And so Samara says that she experiences the same thing. We all do when it comes to communicating with your instructors, even though I am a professor myself, but when I am communicating, especially when it has to do with a grade, it can be intimidating. We're going to talk about that this evening. So as we begin, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your facilitator, Carol Hargret. And this evening, I'm going to be talking to you about communicating in college. Next slide, please. So what will you learn this evening? This evening, you'll be able to identify ways of communicating with your instructors, because obviously there are different ways, and you'll be able to understand how to effectively understand effective email communication, and to identify strategies for effective communication in college. Because remember, it's not just with your professors, it's with your advisors, it's with folks in TRIO, it's with all different kinds of people. You've got to learn to communicate to get yourself in a situation where you are being successful. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, all right.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good, good, good. Good to see you all. All right, so the next slide, as usual, we are going to be asking you the question, and we love for you to interact. So the first question is, have you ever had a difficult conversation with your college instructor or a staff member? It doesn't have to be a college instructor. It could be some staff member on campus. It could be in the library. It could be in admissions, wherever it was. And I just need a yes or no response in the chat. And the second thing I'd like to either hear from you, or you can put it in the chat. What do you want to get out of this workshop this evening? What would you like to get out of this workshop this evening? So the first one is, have you ever had to have the difficult conversation? You can open your mic or you can put it in the chat. And the second one is, what do you want to get out of this workshop?
Well, to answer the first question, I'd say no, not yet. I'm still trying to get adjusted to this, to new surroundings and just the resources I have around me here at Broward College. But I'd say that, what gets out of this workshop, I expect that I should have more skills and it's be more well adjusted to using, whatever tools that can help me communicate efficiently with the staff members and my professors. And just in case of the future, if there's any future conversations or any issues, I can just work that out. That's what I expect to get out of this workshop.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that response. And who else would like to respond?
I'll go next. For the first question, no. At least not so far. I'm not super duper far into the school year just yet. But I feel like that might come later. And as for what I want to get out of this, I mean, maybe just a couple of, I feel like I'm too far away from the microphone here, but maybe just a couple of tips and pointers that I may not have known before.
Got it. Thank you so much, Ian.
No problem.
Yusuf?
Yeah, I was gonna say what I really want to get out of the workshop is, for me, is knowing how to reason with the professors, and not only the professors, with the staff, how to when I'm talking to them, use effective ways to compromise and negotiate with them.
Good.
Because I find sometimes I say to them, with the class, hey, can you break down the material? Hey, can you give me an extension on assignment? And I feel like it's just too set in stone the way it is. And it's like for today, for example, I said to my instructor, hey, can you give me an extension to Sunday? And I only have to tomorrow. And it's really stressful now for me because I'm cramming. It's either change the assignment or get an F. So pretty much
Wow.
what I want to get out of this workshop is how to just reason with the instructor better.
Wow.
Well, that too, they didn't even know I had a disability, which I found, sorry to say, frustrating, because it's okay, now I see why they're having a hard time knowing how to handle and deal with me, because they didn't even know that I had a slow learning disability.
Do you have the form? Did you give them the form because they need to accommodate?
Yeah, I went to my counselor and accessibility resources, and pretty much all my instructors yeah, I got your accommodations plan. I understand your accommodations. But till today, the teacher in the meeting's like, oh, I didn't know you're autistic. And I'm like,
Well, make sure that that particular professor gets that form, Yusuf.
huh?
Make sure that particular professor gets a copy of that form.
Will do.
Make sure, because then you should get accommodations based on that, and rightfully so.
I'm surprised that they didn't even get that form in person.
No, we'll do it. It was just, alarming. I got an F, and then I told her I'm more than willing to redo the assignment. And she's like, I can only give you till tomorrow. It's like, okay, that's not much help.
Well, I'm sure you can speak with your counselors, your advisors about it, because maybe there's a way to help you to overcome that. But definitely communicating with that professor that you need those accommodations is the very first thing you need to do.
Yeah, we'll definitely do. Tutoring is another big thing, but that's a whole nother thing for another time.
But thank you for that, because that really helps, and I'm sure it helps the other folks who are here representing TRIO to understand what's going on with you. All right, next, let's see, Ren said, I had to drop a course because my professor stopped answering my emails when I sent my accommodation letter and wouldn't acknowledge it. Man, this is a conversation. It might need to be a workshop or in and of itself for the faculty. That's something that we need to be talking about, I think. And that is very sad, Ren, if that is indeed the case. Who else? Anyone else want to talk about maybe if they what they'd like to get out of this workshop?
I don't want to take away these chances of speaking up, but I just want to add this. Like, I want to learn how to kind of effectively just kind of communicate your accommodations to your professor. So if you may have some kind of learning disability, I want to learn how to kind of communicate that to my professor with the documents at hand and all that. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, the student handbook gives you recourse. The student handbook, if you read it, once you've asked for specific accommodations, if they're not being offered and you've provided the information in good time, then you have recourse in terms of talking to the associate dean of the department, just to let them know and make them aware too. So you first talk to your professor, and then your next level is to talk to the associate dean of the department if the accommodations are not being met, because that's something that we're supposed to do as professors. Another thing to get from the workshops, tips to grow less afraid of seeking help or asking for help when I need it. I tend to get shy or nervous to ask. And I'll tell you something, honestly, no matter how old you are, when it comes to approaching your professor, especially about a grade, that you still get a little nervous, I believe. And I think that there are others here that said the same thing. All right, so we'll move on to the next slide now, but thanks for your input, and thanks for being quite honest with that. That is something that's eye-opening for myself and Kathy and Samara and Dr. Singletary to hear. So that's something that we hopefully can at least communicate back to our departments. Next slide. So there are strategies that you can use to effectively communicate with your instructors. And you talked about overcoming shyness and overcoming nervousness. And I'm here to tell you that those things are quite real. You are going to feel a little intimidated. You are going to feel a little shy. You are going to feel a little bit like you don't really want to approach them. And sometimes you will need to go to their office hours. Do you know when your professor's office hours are? For each of your professors, do you know when their office hours are?
I only know the office hours for one of my professors, but I don't know about the other two though.
Mm-hmm. Where are the office hours usually located, guys? Where can you find the office hours generally?
It's in the syllabus for the class
Mhm.
that you're in.
In the syllabus. And so not only do they have the location, which is the department that they work in, but they also have it, they should have the dates and the times, sometimes even as an announcement. So the bottom line is that that's an opportunity, because if you're feeling a little fearful of approaching them in the classroom, then your option is to go to the department and meet them during their office hours. And it's in that same department where you're going to, their associate dean, that is the person who is right above them, that's where they're located. And so if it is that you have, and make sure that you've communicated clearly and that you've asked for very specific things. But if that's not happening, you do have recourse to go to the next level, and that would be the associate dean of the department. They are going to ask you, did you communicate? Did you do this? Did you do that? Because then after that, then they can approach the professor. They cannot approach the professor unless you've done what you need to do to approach your professor and let them know what your needs are. Does that make sense? Yes, great. So office hours will take away some of the nervousness. I know that it's intimidating to walk into the department and to ask the professor, but would you prefer to talk to your professor in front of some of your classmates at the end of the class or the beginning of the class? Or would you prefer a one-on-one meeting with your professors during office hours? Which would you prefer? One-on-one, yes, that's what Renee says. What about the rest of you, one-on-one or in the classroom? One-on, depending on the reasoning, sure. One-on-one. One-on-one, yeah. So the best thing to do is check that syllabus, take a look at it, read it, and find the location of the office where the class is. Next slide, please. So today, we're going to discuss what are the best ways of communicating with instructors through online, which is, through email, but through an online email and face-to-face. Now, we're going to talk, I think, first about face-to-face and then email. But when it comes to the email, sometimes you can get things done without ever having to talk directly with your professor. And that's through an email, but you've got to be precise. And tonight, I'm going to show you how to write an email and the things that need to be included in order to get things done for you in the class. So let's go to the next slide. Now, this first video, we're going to talk about top mistakes students make not visiting your professor during office hours. So take a look at this video. We're going to stop it at a certain point and ask you some questions. Then we're going to pick the video up again. So pay attention.
I'm sure you can think of a lot of reasons not to meet with your professor. And in student affairs, we've heard them all. Either you work all day or you have too much homework, but we've also heard some pretty crazy excuses. You think your professor might be a little off, a little scary, a little weird. You've heard their office is located near a space-time vortex. You don't even go here. However, unless you're that A&M guy, you should try to see your professor at least once a semester. Let's see one student's enthusiastic yet misguided attempt at visiting his professor.
Come on in. Hey, Sherwin.
Hey, Larry.
Sherwin?
Hey,
Sit down.
oh yeah, cool. Well, I know it's not technically your office hours right now, and I haven't been really going to class lately, and I'm kind of totally behind on my research project that's due soon. But I was hoping you could hook me up with that deadline extension. I really want to keep my GPA up.
Let's take a look at some ways Sherwin could have handled that better.
So before before the video talks about how he could have handled that better, why don't we discuss how could he have handled himself better when he got to speak with the professor? What are some of the things that he did right off of the bat that were wrong? And you can put it in the chat, or you can open your mic or put your hand up, whichever you prefer. What did he do wrong when he went and sat there talking to the professor?
I would say that he didn't properly address the professor. He kind of called him by his first name. I don't know if all professors are like this, because some of them don't mind, but he still refer him by like Professor, Larry or something like that. I mean, and
Yes.
also, he came out as very like unnervous, and the way he was talking to his professor wasn't very professional. Like he used a little bit of slang, saying "hook me up" instead of just politely asking.
Yes. So he knew it wasn't his office hours. That's what, let me see who put that in the chat. Let me see. Let's see, let me go back up here, sorry. Sometimes it goes a little fast. But he knew it wasn't the professor's office hours. He used the professor's first name. And that's not to say that you can't use the professor's first name, but what that does mean is that what that does mean, guys, is that you need to make sure that the professor has given you permission. Also, especially for professors that are a little older than you, don't start the conversation with "hey," because some folks really don't respond well to starting it with "hey." Okay, so you might say, "Good afternoon, professor," "Good evening, professor," something like that. So that's probably the best way to start that. Does anyone think that it's okay to just say "hey, prof," or "hey, professor"? Yeah, is that okay? Is it a good idea? Let me see what you put in the chat. No. Yeah, it's not necessarily a good idea, guys. You want to make sure that you're addressing your professors appropriately. Some have earned a PhD and some feel like they want that recognition. So if they do have the PhD, you can say, "Hi, Dr. So-and-so," and they can say something like, "Oh, you don't have to say that. You don't have to say, "Hi, Dr. So-and-so." You can just say, "Hi, Professor So-and-so," or some people even say that you can call them by their first name. But let the professor give you that leave to do so. All right, let's restart. Let's continue the video and let's see some of the tips that they have. Pay attention to these tips.
Handled that better. Use your professor's appropriate title. Visit during designated office hours. Come prepared with information and questions. So, let's try that again.
Come on in.
Hey, Dr. Carver.
Hey, Sherwin, how are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good to see you.
See you, see you. Do you have a minute, sir?
You bet. Please sit down.
All right, cool. Thank you for seeing me.
Yeah. What's going on?
It's about yesterday's reading assignment.
Uh-huh.
I'm having a little bit of trouble over some of the concept of topics it covers.
Okay.
I was wondering if we could go more in depth about that.
Sure.
Also, if we have time at the end, maybe we could discuss some of my ideas I have for the upcoming research project.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, cool. Awesome, thank you.
Much better. Office hours are a great time for questions, further discussion, and explanations on topics you're currently discussing in class. It can also lead to a great professional relationship that will last through your college career and beyond.
I can't believe a year ago I was so afraid to come talk to you.
I'm really glad you did, Sherwin.
Also, thank you for the recommendation letter. I'm really excited to go to grad school.
I am really happy this has worked out, and we're excited that you're going to graduate school, and you keep us posted, okay?
Oh yeah, of course. You've helped me so much.
Now, do you see all of the other things that were added to that in terms of the recommendation letter, the interaction with the professor even after finishing the course? I cannot tell you how many students, guys, that I've written recommendation letters for. Some are already doctors or nurses or dentists. Many got scholarships to Nova and other places, not only because of my recommendation letter, but it was a part of the process. Meeting with your professors one-on-one can give you a lot of information that you would not necessarily get just by sitting in the classroom. And when you're having a hard time, especially with a grade or a project, do not wait for the last minute to go and visit the professor's office hours to talk about what you can do to get a better grade. Do you have any questions about what we just saw there, or any of your own suggestions before we move on to how to communicate through email with your professors? All right, thank you, Ben.
Wait,
Thank you.
so they have an office which is separate from the classroom.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. And they are required to do a certain amount of office hours in that office, and they're required to be available to you.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I teach communication skills, public speaking, and I am obligated on my syllabus to say that I'm going to be in the office a certain amount of days. I also have remote office hours, and I'm obligated to be there. Now, adjuncts have different office hours, but they still must have hours. Even if they're adjuncts, they must communicate with you the time and the place where you can meet with them. It could be before or after the class, or in a certain, like within the department, they have adjunct areas where adjuncts sit to do their office hours. So yes, adjuncts have different office hour requirements, but they do have office hours just like full-time faculty, Amelia. Does everybody understand the difference between an adjunct and a full-time faculty? Or does everybody know what an adjunct means? No? Okay, great. That's what I'm here for. So an adjunct, the only thing adjunct means is part-time faculty. They're not a full-time faculty at Broward College. So they may teach one course or two courses or three courses, but they're not full-time at Broward. That is what an adjunct is. A full-time faculty is a faculty that is hired full-time to teach for Broward, and that's all they do pretty much. They just teach full-time. They may teach at other institutions, but generally speaking, they teach 5 or 6 classes a term for Broward College, and they're hired on a full-time basis. Any questions before we move on? Never send emails to your professor when you're emotional. Calm down first before typing, or you may end up with a strongly worded email. That's excellent advice, Davini. Always, if you feel like a professor has upset you, you say things like, they gave me, can you believe that she gave me a D? Do not send an email immediately off to the professor in anger saying, you gave me a D. Why did you give me a D? Calm down, sleep on it for a night, and then think about the best way to communicate. And next, as we go to the next slide, I think it's the slide after that one, because we've already done the discussion. Right, Kyle? So if you'll go to this next slide and then the following slide, I think we're now going to talk about, yes, so we just did the discussion. Now we're going to talk about how to write an effective email to your professor. Pay special attention because you can get a lot done through email if you do it correctly. So let's watch this video, then we'll talk about how best to do this.
Hi, I'm Professor Covey, and we're going to go over real quickly how to write a good email for your online professor or instructor teacher. So let's pop on into your web browser or your LMS to start a message. First thing I'm going to do is make sure I'm sending it to the correct person. So I will check the email address, or if I'm using an LMS like Canvas, make sure it's just getting sent to the right instructor. Then I'm going to go over here to the subject, make sure I mention the title of the class, and then a little overview of what my question will be about. Let's say it's homework. As I get into the body of the email, I'm going to address the instructor. You can write hi or dear, and then we'll use their formal title, so professor or doctor, and then their last name, unless they've asked you to address them as something else. Then when I get into the content here within the body, you're first going to introduce yourself. This is, use your name here, and then the title of the class. So I am from the English 101 class, perhaps. Remember,
is there a way that we can turn up the volume slightly on the video? I don't know.
Periods of the class. So tell them the day and time, the period number, the section, or like my school, we do the CRN, the course record number. And then get into the content or the specific question you have. So here I say, I have a question regarding the homework for Module 2. Here is what I did to try to figure it out. Here are references. I'm specifying with details, screenshots, etc. what my question is to help make sure the instructor has as much content from you as possible to be able to provide as specific a response as possible to your email to avoid a lot of that back and forth. And you can just have that process expedited with a specific answer. At the end, I like to close out thanking them for their time. So I literally write, thank you for your time. You might say, I look forward to hearing back from you. Whatever kind of closeout signal shows that you're at the end and that you are grateful. Finally, we sign off. I like to say sincerely, then you'll type in your name once again. Before I press the pretty send button, make sure that you edit it. A quick edit doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just give it a quick review to make sure you've capitalized your I's, using appropriate punctuation, and maintaining a professional academic tone. So then I go off and I press send, and I wait for a wonderful response. Okay, that is a quick tutorial on how to send an email to your online or face-to-face instructor, professor, teacher. I hope you find it helpful. Got a couple other videos on the channel right now about improving your netiquette, specifically as an online student. So go ahead and subscribe, check out those other videos, smash the like button, etc., etc. Alrighty, good luck this semester.
All right, so we'll go to the next slide and we're going to discuss this because there's a lot here that you may take for granted, but that you should be doing. So what were some of the things that she pointed out that were important that you do with an email?
Start out by saying, like, by putting a good intro, addressing the professor appropriately.
That's it. Addressing the professor appropriately. Yes. So you all have that in there, that you're talking about the greeting. Precise language is what Emilio says. And let's see. Use precise language, make sure that that there's a greeting, be clear and precise within the subject. So we're going to break it down again, because this is where you're going to get a lot of your communication done. So the very first thing you need to do, should you use your personal email to send a message to your professor? Do you think students do that though? Do you think they use their personal email to email their professors? A lot do. I've experienced that myself. A lot do. What's the problem when you send your personal email, when you're using your personal email? What's the problem with that?
A personal email, at least in my experience, is like usually kind of, it can be very informal, which is not exactly what you want when you're emailing your college professor.
Right. So exactly, thank you for that. So it can appear unprofessional. I mean, I've got emails from lovebugbaby@gmail.com or some email like that. And sometimes we don't know who it's coming from because the email does not have the information pertaining to you. And then you assume the professor should know who you are. Now, what email should you use when you are communicating with your faculty? By email. Which email? Good. So the school email.edu, your school email. Do you use it often, guys? Do you go into that email, check it, and do you look? You do? Good. What about the rest of you? Do you use your school email? Yes, good. What if it is an online course? Should you use the .edu email?
Yeah, she's a .edu email.
No.
It depends on what the professor prefers. Some professors prefer using the D2L email.
Online, we are told, because I teach one online class a term, we are told that we must use the D2L email when we're corresponding with our students, and we must strongly encourage them to use the D2L email because it all is housed in there. It is many times evidence from you to your professor and from your professor to you. So using D2L and having it housed in D2L helps you to prove that you've communicated at this day, at this time. So if you're doing an online course or a blended course, a remote course, use D2L, not .edu. Now, if you use D2L, what did she suggest that you put in the subject line? Or not even D2L, but all of them. If you use D2L or .edu, what are some of the things you need to put in the subject line to make it clear that it's you? Your name, good. The class, the name of the class and the time of the day. I got confused for a moment. I use D2L email to count. Good, Fatima, good. So yes, your name. Now, you may assume because the email is coming from you that $16.08, you should put your email, I'm sorry, your course number, SPC 1608, and the day and the time. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9:30. And you wonder, why do I need to do all of that?
Dr.
Well,
Margaret,
huh? Yes.
I'm sorry, you kind of froze for a bit. I'm not sure if it was for other as well. So we heard SBC 1608. That was the
Okay.
last thing, but whatever you said right before that was kind of
All
cut.
right. Okay, so I do apologize. We've got a storm coming through the area, and you know how the internet gets. So I said, when you're going, let's say that you have a course like SPC 1608, which is your speech course, then that's what you should put, and the day and the time. Is everybody hearing me clearly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So put the day and the time in there so they know. And then get very specific with what you want to do. I would like more time on my exams because of my accommodation. That states that I am to be allowed more time. And so I need this much more time on my exams or the like, and attach a copy of the accommodation to the email. That becomes your personal proof. And then whatever else you need, you put that in detail. End your email with what? How should you end your email, guys? Yes. Always thank your professor. Thank them for their time, or sincerely, as the professor did in the video that we saw, and sign it. Put your name at the bottom. And you don't have to, but it's a good thing because then you learn how to do more formal correspondence. So thank you, enter your name and enter your school email. Great. So that is information on how to communicate face-to-face with your instructor and how to communicate using email. Which do you prefer, guys?
I'd have to say that I'm kind of biased because I've been online for since I started here.
Ah, so for you, it's important to use email, yes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. D2L email, yes, yes, yes.
I'm sorry. This goes. When it comes to this email, professors say if you have like an online, online class, how does they do it? Like, how do they do communicate with them? Because I said that we're supposed to use edu, but that was incorrect. You said use a different email address. Was it?
It's the D2L email. You know, when you're online and you're in D2L,
Yeah.
there's an email there, and that's the best one to use. If you have an online class, use D2L email.
Oh, like you go on a little email app on the email note. Oh, yeah. But that's normally how I communicate with all my professors, though, for the most part.
Okay. Okay. Has it been working for you?
Yeah, because sometimes it just ends with like sometimes like the email addresses kind of like end with .edu. You know what I mean? And so that's what I was kind of referring to. And the same for Outlook too, when I message, my, professors on that platform too. Well, not we, my professors, but
Yeah,
other staff members.
absolutely. Your .edu is good as well. And the professor in the syllabus will tell you how they want to be communicated with. But if you're, and as many of you have discussed, if you're in an online course or even a remote course, it is good to email your professors through D2L. I would say though, always follow what your syllabus says, guys. That's the first place to always go to. Read that syllabus. Don't just have it there and not read it. That syllabus is considered, for all intents and purposes, to be a contract between you and your professor. That means your professor needs to deliver what's in the syllabus, and you need to adhere to the guidelines in the syllabus. If you were to go to an associate dean, because maybe you weren't getting what you needed from a professor, the first thing they're going to ask you is, have you read the syllabus and are you following the syllabus? That's the first thing. Make sense, guys? Well, we're now going to take a look at one more small video, and then we're going to do our Kahoot for the evening as we wrap up our workshop today. So let's look at this small video, and it again is going to talk to you about the little tips about how to communicate with your instructors. All right, and this is a very short video, but pay attention because there's some good stuff in it.
Here are 7 tips to resolving a grade, problem or disagreement with an instructor. Tip number 1. Go over the requirements for the paper or test. Be sure you actually have a reason to dispute the grade, not just that you didn't do well. Then, be prepared with specific points you want to discuss with your instructor. Tip number 2. Make an appointment with your instructor during office hours. Tip number 3. Be on time and be polite. Begin explaining that you thought you did better on the test or assignment, and that you'd like to go over it to better understand. Tip number 4. Allow the instructor to explain. Don't interrupt or complain. Show your appreciation. Then, raise specific questions or comments. For example, you might say, "I really thought I was being clear." Tip number 5. Use good listening skills. Tip number 6. Ask what you can do to improve the grade, if possible. Questions like, "Can I rewrite the paper or do any extra credit?" Make it clear you are willing to put in the extra effort. But, be prepared to hear no. Tip number 7. If the answer is no, ask the instructor for advice on what you might do on the next test or next assignment. Thank your instructor. Your instructor will respect your willingness to make the effort. Use these 7 tips for effective communication with your instructor.
So those were quick 7 tips. Does any one of them stand out to you? Any one of those tips that you heard? Is there anyone in particular that you can say, that will help me? Tip number 1, listening. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Renee. What else? Don't argue with your instructors, guys. Listen, let them speak, and once they finished, you say your piece, but do not get into an argument with your instructors. It will not benefit you. And I'm sorry, Simon, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, another step would be like, okay, like trying to like come with a solution to your issue, whether that's doing an extra credit or like asking for advice on what to do on the next test or assignment.
Absolutely. Because they may turn you down for your request. And if they do, then it's best to ask what you can do and thank them for their time. You may not be pleased, but realize if it is that they have given you whatever you need, and you still haven't adhered to it, then you have to be prepared to hear no and still be okay to say, what can I do next? And realize that you may not necessarily get the grade you want, but when you've been polite, when you've asked what you can do next, generally speaking, they will help you as you move along in the course. But if you argue, or if you get disrespectful, then that becomes a real issue. Now, if you are being disrespected, the student handbook gives you recourse as well in terms of what you need to do. So you do have recourse, but realize that many times people are reacting to the way that you react to them. So make sure that you realize that they're the authority in the classroom, that you have to follow their syllabus, and you may not get the answers that you'd like, unfortunately, but you can ask for extra work or something else that you need to do, or pointers, or maybe you can see them during office hours and they can help you with your work. And many professors, not all, but many are quite willing to do that. I know in my speech classes, any individual that would like me to practice their speech with them and give them feedback, I'm quite willing. So realize that sometimes it's a conversation. Visit your professors during their office hours and make sure that if you're sending emails, that you're polite, that you're clear, that you're specific with your information. And that's one of the things that those are the things that I'm hoping that you'll take away from the workshop this evening. Okay, and so Renee has a statement in the chat, guys. Kathy or Samara, or so take a look at that. All right, we're now going to do the Kahoot as usual. So get ready. Go to kahoot.it on your phone. Kahoot.it. And when you go, let me put that in the chat, go to kahoot.it, kahoot.it. And when you get in, put in the code 8511875. The pin, the game pin. Look at all of you. I'm so happy to see you in the Kahoot. If you would like a copy of this presentation, if you'll put your email in, then we will make sure that you get a copy of the presentation. You should have received a copy of the previous presentation. And you will certainly, if you didn't, let me know and I'll make sure to get you a copy. So we've got 12 students in. We're going to wait one more minute and we're going to get started with the Kahoot. So kahoot.it, use the game pin 8511875. I think we're ready. Is everybody ready? Does anyone need us to wait just a minute more for you, or are we all good to go? Ready? Yay. All right, here we go. It is certainly necessary, guys. You've got to understand how to communicate with your instructors, with college staff, and with fellow students. It is really necessary. All right. Yusef's in the lead, Ben and Andrea. Let's go, guys. Can you read the question up? Yes. Before discussing a grade with your instructor, you should go over the assignment first. True or false? Excellent. Absolutely. That syllabus and the assignments details, you've got to go over them first so that you know what you're talking about when you're getting ready to talk to your professor, right? All right, let's see now. Next, I'll read the next one for you. True or false? Are you seeing the question? I think my screen has frozen.
No, I can see the question.
Oh, so something has frozen for me. Unfortunately. All right, is everyone hearing me or not?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can hear you.
great, great. So I'm seeing number 3, true or false. That's all I'm seeing on my screen. So when you continue it, would somebody read the question?
I can read it.
Okay. So let's continue on.
It seems to be frozen in the previous.
Yeah, it's
question,
frozen.
so-
I can't read anything.
Okay.
It
so-
currently still says you should make an appointment with your instructor during office hours. So we don't see anything past that question.
Okay, why don't we, Kyle, why don't you reshare the Kahoot because it seems to be stuck. So maybe if you stop sharing and start sharing, that might help.
Yeah, it says like it marked us all wrong for question 4 because we never answered it.
Okay. Kyle, are you stuck? Oh boy. All right. Now we've had a bad thunderstorm through here and it looks like it's made the Kahoot stuck. Let's give him about a minute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but the Kahoot is stuck.
Yeah, my Zoom crashed. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right. So I think what I need to do you guys have a minute? I can put the Kahoot up myself, but are you able to stop sharing, Kyle?
It's not, I stopped sharing. It's not taken off my screen.
Oh, okay. No, it's not. What I'm going to say is unfortunately, we're not going to be able to continue with the Kahoot tonight, guys. So next workshop, maybe there'll be double prizes, who knows? The next workshop next week is going to be on reading for college success. I have a guest speaker who's going to be coming in to do reading. She is a reading specialist and a professor at Broward who's been doing the reading for years. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Because I seem to be frozen on my screen. And so I look forward to seeing you in the next workshop. I'm sorry that this one didn't work out with the Kahoot, but we'll make sure to get you prizes next time around. Any questions before you go?
Oh, I was just going to say, as always, again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this workshop. Thank you for your guys' guidance and help and support. It really does help a lot.
Well, that you've got to thank the trio folks. They are the ones who put this together. And of course, they asked me very kindly to help, and I am so happy to be a part of it. The population that trio serves is a population that I feel very strongly about helping, because I know that you guys need to learn a little bit more about how to be successful in college, and that's what I'm here for. So thank you for that. Deeply appreciated. Anyone else have anything to add before we go this evening?
Just thank you so much. I get so much out of these workshops.
All right. And I think you're going to get an evaluation. Make sure that you put that there, because that's something that helps Trio to know that what they're doing is successful. So thank you so much for that. Anyone else?
Yeah, should I put my route email in the chat so you can send me the presentation, or do you already have it? You can just kind of like refer back to past emails.
Well, put it in there because we want to capture it this time around, please.
Okay.
All right. So if there's nothing else, you are quite free to go. Thank you so much for being here this evening. Take good care, and I'll see you next Thursday in our next workshop.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Great, excellent evening. Bye.
Thank you, sir, Dr. Hargreaves. Appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good evening. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, so